Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Home Staging Talk Show Live. I'm Jenny Norris, your host, and I'm also the chairwoman of the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. And thank you for joining us today. We've got a great show for you. We've got three guests that will be sharing with you, and so I'm excited to be able to bring them on. And so I'm just waiting for a couple of them to get into the studio with me here, the virtual studio, if you will. So I have some announcements, of course, before we get started. We are just about a month away, about 5 weeks away from our big conference in Nashville. So hopefully you're all planning to join us. Those of you that have not gotten your ticket yet, what are you waiting for? It's going to be fabulous. We've got amazing speakers lined up to share for all levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced level speakers. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Carla. And so you definitely want to make sure that you get there because your business will be no further along, or you won't be as excited about your business versus when you attend a conference and learn all that. You're super motivated and you learn such valuable information that can help you get your business moving forward. So I've never missed a conference. The very first one was held in 2003 for the entire home staging industry. The very first conference was 2003. I was pretty new back then, and I made it to the conference, scraped the funds together, and I'm so happy I went. And I've never missed one since then because not only do I need education, because you can never stop learning, but I get to see a lot of my colleagues that have become dear friends of mine over the years. So it's a twofer. So you get to meet wonderful people, get to see colleagues you haven't seen in a while, but also learn a lot. So get your tickets. The website for that is ihospconexpo.com. You can see it right down here on the bottom, ihospconexpo.com. Prices go up on September 3rd, so make sure to get your tickets now for that so that you don't end up paying more than you need to come to the conference. So we're really, really excited about the lineup, everything we have planned for everybody. This is our speaker lineup here. So you can see there's a lot of really great speakers that'll be sharing. You recognize some of their faces. We do have 39 speakers sharing on 25 different topics because we have panels. So in addition to main stage speakers and breakout session speakers, we have a couple of panels. One is on with realtors talking about what they really want from stagers, what realtors really want. So that's going to be a great panel. And then also a panel on closing the sale. A lot of stagers have challenges on, closing the sale and getting the opportunity confirmed. So we send off information, but then what happens next? I'm afraid to pick up the phone and call. What if they say no? How do I overcome their concerns and challenges and so forth? So that's one of the panels. And then the investor staging consultant designation that everybody will earn. That will also be a panel. And so that will have 5 different people sharing on the topic. And so everybody who attends, you get new credentials, which that's unique. We're the only conference that does that. And so we're your getaway with the takeaway because we really believe in education at iHosp. And so the investor staging consultant designation will be taught on Saturday morning by 5 different people. And each one will do a piece of the topic from pricing, securing the business, getting in the mindset of the investor, trends, the process, understanding the process and how we fit in. And one of the speakers will even be sharing about the possibility of you investing in properties, what that takes, and then also Airbnb properties for investors and individuals. So it's going to be a very full topic. Really excited for that. Following the conference, of course, there's our advanced stager training. I'll be putting out the schedule for this today or tomorrow, but we're going to have 6 different leaders from different facets of our industry that will be facilitating this workshop. So if you have a 6-figure or above business, or you're just about there, you can attend. And the speakers will be, let me put this up here. Workshop facilitators are Marianne Cherico, Joanne Lynette Weary, Catherine Lewis Brown, Melissa Morrow's on the far left, I'm in the middle on the bottom, and then Jana Usselton. So they will be facilitating the 2 days of the workshop. So it's more of a workshop intensive where we're going to be breaking down different challenges people may be having in their business, talk about different successes, break into smaller groups. So you can learn a lot from your colleagues in a focused environment. And so that's the goal of the advanced stager training, because we just simply can't cover it all in a conference. especially when we have people that are at, newer levels. We wanted to have something that catered specifically to the advanced. And then the other speakers that'll be coming and sharing during that time is Renee Helton. She'll be talking about business and productivity. Jonathan Miller, who will talk about marketing and branding. And then Brandy Sales will talk about video tech and different applications we can use in our business for marketing as well. So that's going to be a really good session. So I'll be putting the agenda out as far as what topics will be shared by the different workshop facilitators. And this is big. Staging Industry Awards are happening right now. So we extended the deadline until Friday, the 30th. So you have until Friday the 30th at 11:45 p.m. to get your nominations in for the IHOSP Staging Awards that will be given out at our conference. And so you can see the different topics here. Top vacant staging, we're going to recognize luxury, regular, and small square footage property staging. Under the occupied category, we'll be looking at luxury and regular occupied staging. The top team will look at large and small. So a large team is, I think I put down 5 or more team members that actually stage. This is not counting your drivers, delivery people, anything like that. It's your actual stagers on your team. And then people with less than that would be a smaller team, so 2 to 5. The top individual stager, you stage by yourself, you don't have a team. The Rising Star Award is for somebody who's been in business, a year or so, and so is newer, but is just doing a really great job growing their business and, working through it and having a lot of success. So we like to recognize the Rising Star. And then the IHOSP chapter, top chapter. So IHOSP chapter leaders, make sure to submit your chapters. We only have 1 submitted so far. So I know there's some fabulous chapters out there. So get that nomination in before Friday. And then the Barb Schwartz Staging Excellence Award. This is for the individual. It's an individual award. Must be nominated, and we're all going to vote on this too. Topics will be out for the public vote. But the Barb Schwartz Staging Excellence Award recognizes an individual who has shown excellence not only in their business and their growth, their staging quality, their leadership within the industry, and mentoring other colleagues. So kind of the full facet that they're involved and really represent the best of the best in the industry as far as all of those different facets. So get your nominations in. Again, you have until Friday. There will be no exceptions, no extensions for anybody who misses the 11:45 p.m. deadline. And I hate to have to say that, but we have to be able to put these things out for the public vote, and then we've got to be able to order the awards specifically for people who win. So, TikTok, the clock is ticking, so we've got to get this done. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. So I think that is it for all my announcements. Excuse me. So I'm waiting for Vin is still not on, so I might have to email him. But I can at least bring Becky. We'll add you first because we had Becky on last week, and then something happened to her audio. Hello.
Hello there.
Hey. So you sound great. So just kind of where we left off last week. I was so silly. I was doing sign language, thinking you could see me, and I didn't realize that I could see you on my screen, but you couldn't see me. So I'm like doing all this stuff with my hands, and I realized she can't even see me. So tell me who you are.
I am Becky Harmon from Transformation Staging and Redesign School. We have a training academy. I am an interior designer, 25 years, and I started staging in 2004 when no one knew what it was in Florida. And so we had to educate realtors. I was fortunate enough to get a column in our local newspaper talking about staging. So that really started the ball rolling in that regard. And I feel like I have to do like 10 hours of continuing education credit to keep my ASID membership. So I've learned a lot about design materials, and I've worked with investors for more than 10 years. I have a lot of things that come up routinely. And if we can know a little bit more than our investors about design materials, they're going to love us. And
right.
The opportunity is tremendous. Another thing I noticed before I started the school, when I was staging by myself, 1/3 of my salary came from referral fees. and that's mainly flooring, backsplashes, countertops. We are leaving money on the table. And if you don't know a little bit about design materials, you can't really recommend things. So we're going to change that at this conference.
Which, yeah, I'm really excited about that, because I've had a couple of investors that, they've already picked everything by the time I go to look at the house to stage. And some of the things they put in are just, they're not good. And one of them, they actually were staining the cabinets. It was like the worst stain job I'd ever seen. And they were trying to make them like cherry, but it was this horrible color. But the tile on the counters he chose not to rip out was slate. So it had like the brownish walnut color. So that cherry, it clashed horribly. And so I said, please, 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 before you ever do this again,
yes,
call me, because I could have helped you, guide you in the right way before you wasted all this time and money. So the investor market, I know they have to be sort of trends that are general, not generic, but kind of more general to appeal, but it doesn't have to be the same cookie cutter, because I see so much of the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I've met a lot of investors, and it's just honestly, the investor thing is not going away. It's getting bigger than ever. And if we don't tap into it, designers are going to tap into it.
Right.
And I've run into a lot of investors who put the same materials, same colors in every property that they renovate. And that's a big mistake. And
Yeah.
I've got examples of bad decisions by investors on the presentation. And you look at that and you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe someone did that.
Right. So
we're going to talk about liability waivers, because there's a fine line between our ability to make recommendations as a stager, and how can we protect ourselves if the vendors make mistakes. So that we're going to talk about liability waivers, something that I don't here at conference, and I think we need to know about it, how to word it, how to do it. So I'm excited.
Well, we're excited too. And so so just share a little bit about your background. We had talked a little bit about how you kind of got into staging, and I just love the story, because I think you and I are similar, that we'll put wigs and hats and silly stuff on to
I know it's like my past. I had a balloon bouquet business back when it was a new thing in 1980. I won't tell you how old I am, but a long time ago. And we ended up, wearing costumes. We had 15 different costumes, and we delivered. We lived in Tallahassee, Florida, which is the state capital. We used to balloon the governor and famous people. And it was a crazy business that, surprisingly enough, was worth a lot of money after 10 years when we sold it. I think that's another good topic. How much is your business going to be worth at some point?
Right. Well, we have Leslie and Leanne Kramer are going to be sharing on that topic. They'll be talking about, their topic is Rock of Ages. Do you have something to sell? And Leslie's actually a certified business broker. And you're right. It is important that as we all get older and our businesses mature, eventually we're going to want to exit, and you have to have a strategy. So that's something that a lot of people stayed away from as a topic, is like, oh, you can't talk about people quitting or leaving the business, but it's like, but that's a reality. So you're right. Being able to sell a business successfully, what that entails. And you've been through it with that balloon business. So
yes. I made like 20 or 30 times what my initial investment was. So it was a real pleasant surprise. So I think there's opportunity there that we're not tapping into. I think that's great that this conference is addressing so much advanced material. We are having our own advanced class in Florida later in October, and we're going to be talking about the material that I'm sharing at conference.
Good.
So you're getting some advanced material.
Which people need. And I, sometimes with investors too, they use up the budget with their materials. And sometimes they'll say, we don't have the budget for staging. So a stager being able to insert themselves in the design part, but having the confidence, because I think a lot of us don't do that piece because we don't feel like I know what I like. I've always kind of said, I know what I'm attracted to, but how would I know that it's what the buyer wants? And so we talked about, we have a buyer trends seminar that's a BTS buyer trends specialist designation. And so we talked about the trends, but it's also understanding the demographics and who's buying what type of property, what do they like to see in properties. And that's so important because as a stager, we don't know who the buyer is going to be. So being able to select things that are going to be on trend for that particular buyer, whether it's a millennial or a Gen X or boomer. So that all kind of comes into play too. So I can't wait to hear what you have to share.
We are also
I meet you in person.
We're also going to be talking about applications.
Yes.
Like you don't put engineered wood directly on some surfaces. I mean, we're going to talk about, you don't need to know everything, but I'm going to show some examples of bad decisions that were made by people that thought they'd save money and go to Home Depot.
Right.
And had someone who usually works in the plant department giving them advice on design materials. I mean, it was a disaster, a very expensive mistake.
And a lot of the synthetic flooring is really gaining popularity. They made some really amazing improvements for sustainability and durability. It can get wet and so forth, and it doesn't start lifting and buckling. And I have a client that asked me about, they have the fireplace that's floor to ceiling with the river stone, that ledge stone, not ledge stone, it's the big chunky, ugly, was back in the day. I'm sure it was nice. And so he wrote to me, the realtor said, what are people going to do? I'll go, they'll either have to rip it out. I don't know if there's a way to reface that because I've never tried. I don't know if there's a way to build it out and reface it, but that's something that, as these houses get older and people want to cosmetically improve them, that, they're going to be asking us for advice. So I never want to come from a place of making stuff up.
Right.
To sound like I know what I'm doing. I'd rather say, that's a great question. Let me find out, because, I would probably put it out to the community, say, what do you guys recommend, or get somebody that's an expert. So I think stagers being able to interject themselves in the beginning process, and then also to stage the properties that the investors are flipping, there's two opportunities for income. So, which is great. Well, I'm very excited to learn a lot from you and to meet you in person. And she also, so talk a little bit about your school. So you're in Jacksonville, right?
Jacksonville, Florida. We have a hands-on staging and redesign class for certification, and we also have an online class for certification. And
is your online class live, or is it recorded?
We are going to do both. We used to do live only, and then so many people have crazy schedules and work crazy hours. It is always available online. It's on demand, but we are going to start having a live class because I get so many questions during the class, and I want to offer both. We're planning on implementing that probably by November. So yeah.
Awesome. That's great. So, thank you for being on, and we look forward to having you join us at the conference and hearing all your wise words. So Becky Harmon, everybody, say goodbye. Thanks, Becky, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to bring on Kristie Barnett. So Vin, I'm going to try to text him. Hey, Kristie, how are you?
Hey, Jenny, I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great.
You look great.
Thank
You're
you.
With all your glassware behind you. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in my kitchen.
Oh. You have those open cabinets. So you're one of those people that have to have your house like perfectly situated all the time because it's open cabinetry.
Yeah, kind of. Part of it is anyway.
That's great. And so tell everybody who you are, and I'm not ignoring you. I got to try to reach out. So Vin is with Elevon, who's one of our sponsors, and he's supposed to be on the show, but he's not here. So now I got to email him and see what's happening. So go ahead and share who you are for people who don't know.
Okay, I'm Kristie Barnett, and my business is called The Decorologist, and I've been in the home staging industry for almost 16 years now. I started in 2003, part-time for several years when my children were small, and then I started blogging in 2009. So this past July was my 10-year blogging anniversary under The Decorologist. So that's that's what I'm going to be talking about actually at IHOS this year, is about blogging for your business and how you can use a blog to really expand your business, expand your reach, get a whole lot more hits on Google and all that kind of good stuff.
Well, it's funny because blogging, I think a lot of people really don't understand. I'm so glad you are going to do that topic, because I think a lot of people don't understand why they need to have a blog and the importance of it. And I have to say that I blogged a lot in the beginning, up until about 2 years or so. And then we have our Staged Homes blog, and I seem to
Right.
put a lot of time towards that. And iHouse, I've kind of neglected my own personal sensational home staging blog.
Mhm.
But when I do blog, the articles get disseminated out. And I think one of the biggest challenges, I don't know if you're going to address this at conference, but people don't know what to write, and so then
Right.
they don't.
Sure.
Like, what am I going to
we're
share?
Definitely going to talk about that. All the different kinds of things you can write about. I've always liked to talk about trends because people are always interested in the trends. I talk about paint color. I talk about staging. I talk about design. I share my projects. And that's really, when you actually share your befores and afters and what you're able to do and all the different services you offer that people may not know, then you can really, really grab people in a different way than just putting a single picture on social media and them not really hearing you or knowing who you are. It's amazing how many people I meet all the time who've been following me on my blog for many years. I met a gal last night here in town who is a designer, and she was like, oh, I've been following you for years and I feel like I know you, and I've never met her before. But it's really a great way to connect with potential clients. And so now when they contact me, I don't have to explain who I am. I don't have to try to talk them into hiring me or even really tell them a whole lot. They're already ready to hire me because they know me from the blog, which is really cool. It's really cool.
So Juana Perkins says, that's me. I don't know what to write. And so, blog articles in general, you don't want to have them be super long. I tend to write a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mine tend to be lengthy. And so I don't know if I lose people partway through, but I'll just get on a roll. So, typically it's better to be, more concise, and it could be anything. It could be, I've even done where I've gone on and found like Better Homes and Gardens will have some updated, like, trends for fall.
Sure.
And I'll grab that and I'll say, hey, check out what's coming. And I'll repost that. And of course you give credit to wherever you might take
Right.
a partial article, but you could do something like that to just to get started. And it's what Kristie said. It's about positioning yourself as a person that has knowledge or expertise in a particular area, so you become like the go-to person.
Mm-hmm.
And so through the years, you have there's actually a blogging conference, right? And you've gone and been recognized and won awards and
all that kind of stuff. A lot of local, especially locally in Nashville. That first of all, when I first started blogging, I really never thought that I'd have more than 10 or 12 people even read my posts. And before long, it just grew and grew kind of exponentially. And I thought only people in Nashville would read it. And of course, my largest following is in this area, but it expanded so much. And so it's also a great way, of course, it's going to help you locally. And the newspapers, give out blogging awards and different, I've gotten all different kinds of awards from that. And that brings other people, they start noticing who you are and they see you as an expert in the field, right? And that's what we want to do, is we want to set ourselves up as being the go-to expert that, if anybody has a question about staging or doesn't understand it, then, I'm their gal. So, but anyway, but it expanded way beyond that. Like crazy town. In fact, I said that in the beginning, in the first few years, I was really, really just working part-time. And some of that was because I had young children, but also was because I didn't have enough clients, right? And so as I was building my business, when I started blogging, my business went through the roof. It went through the roof. And then people were asking me to do all kinds of things that I never really intended to do anything except stage homes. That was what I wanted to do. That was my passion. But then, when you show all these befores and afters, people are like, well, can you come and help me? Maybe you can help me in my house that I'm living in. I'm not wanting to sell it, but, can you redesign? Can you do a redesign for me? Or can you choose my paint colors? And so it's really interesting how that can expand. And even in terms of reaching a broader audience, like, my audience is from all over the world now, which is all kinds of crazy. But for years, I had a situation where I needed to be home more with my kids for about a 2-year period. And so I couldn't work as much locally on a daily basis, like maybe 3 days a week only. And so I used my time at home to do online design consultations for people. And I did like 5 of those a week. And it was a great extra income stream. So there's lots of ways you can use a blog actually to do that and promote those kind of services.
Have you ever done anything with a vlog, the video blog, VLOG?
I haven't. I mean, I do occasionally. I'll do things like this with you, or occasionally I'll do a video. I do video workshops. I do video training. I do that kind of stuff. But as far as like the live stuff, that's not. I don't know. That kind of makes me a little nervous. I like to be really prepared and know, and make sure everything goes smoothly. So, I know it's the big thing right now, but it's really
so
not.
People can combine it. Yeah, I mean, you can do like. So the written word, because you can kind of, revisit it and see it again you're right. Because when you're doing video, especially if it's, you can do ones where you just record and then you can upload. They don't have to be live.
True. Which is better.
Yeah. And so Tori Toth is actually going to be talking about getting in front of the camera and people's fear of overcoming the fear of being on camera.
Sure.
And I think most people, it's because we don't like how we look. We don't like how we sound. And when I've been live, there's been all sorts of stuff that's happened. I've lost connection.
Right.
Back when I used to have I'd have the tripod up when I would do the Facebook Live versus going through the Be Live broadcast. I had to think of flying out of the holder a couple times. And
no, it's so embarrassing. But then people know you're real, and that's great. But for me, I think the difference between like blogging and vlogging is the focus in my blogging is really more on what I'm trying to show or educate people about, or the photos, right? And so it's difficult to do that when you're vlogging. It's just all about, me. And, I guess you could be on site and be showing things, but it's just a little trickier. You need a whole video team with you to do that. So anyway, I like to make my blog. You were talking about how much you write. I'm really not, everybody thinks that I love to write because I write so much, but I really don't. I really don't love that. But, it's one of those things where it's a means to an end. And if I've got information or if I'm passionate about the subject matter, then I'm willing to either get on video or write a blog. It's just to get that across. Does that make sense? It's not like I love to write, but I'm really passionate about staging and color and design. So it makes it a lot easier. But most of my blog, I really would say mine is more about the photos. It's more about the visuals than it is, because, we're in a visual industry, and I think people want to see the visuals, right? So that's really what I focus on.
So let's talk about, you just are now officially partnered with Sherwin-Williams, and then so talk about that whole thing, how that came about.
Sure. Okay. Well, so Small Wall is a product. It's a sample. I should have brought it on here with me. Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, they're 12 by 12 sample boards that Sherwin-Williams sells in their store. And I started using Small Wall about, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I kind of stumbled upon them, and I had used poster board, and I had used all kinds of things to do large samples, because working out of a fan deck is a nightmare. And, you're comparing all the little tiny samples against one another, and it kind of messes up your perception of color. You really need large samples. So the more I was doing paint color consultations, which became a huge specialty for me and still is, that I just needed them on bigger boards. So I tried all different kinds of things, and some are, they're porous material, poster board is porous, and the color isn't as accurate. So I started using Small Walls, and it literally is the best representation of painted color you can possibly have. And you can move it around the room on different walls and against different finishes. And really, you're able to better visualize what it's going to look in the big picture when it's done. And your client is too. So I was just using them all the time, talking about them all the time. In my expert psychological stager course that I teach, paint color is a huge component of that, because it makes such an impact in staging. And so I would use those and demonstrate those, and I have those in my course. And so eventually the woman who invented them contacted me and said, hey, I'd love to give small walls away at your courses. In fact, she's gonna supply me with Small Wall boards for everybody at IHOST. So that's exciting. So I'm gonna bring those so you can see what they're like. But anyway, I love them. I've always loved them. And so she reached out to me a few months ago and said, hey, really like you to be our brand ambassador. So now we're a little bit more formally connected, but it's a great product for
So, so is it, you have to, this, is it like, so it's like a little mini drywall thing and then you have
Yes.
to paint it, or do they paint it for you? Like
No,
you can't,
you
okay,
do have to paint it.
Okay.
You know, in a fan deck or a paint strip, that's computerized color. It's like looking online and trying to choose a color from Benjamin Moore or Sherwin-Williams online is just ridiculous. It's not going to look accurate. It's not going to look like real life. So I've always felt like it's real important to paint a
froze.
sample, a sample.
I don't know why it's
on a real
frozen.
board.
Hopefully unfreeze.
Can you see me? You're frozen.
Okay, good. So, because they have Sherwin, so you froze for a second. So hopefully they could still hear you. Everything went like frozen on my end, but Sherwin-Williams does have those. You can order the 8.5 by 11 painted sheets, but those are thin and those are actually pigment. So, but this is different because these are bigger.
Right. Well, these are 12 by 12. They're hard, so they're sturdy. And
Right.
I've been using the same ones for years. You can repaint them and do other colors on them. And so I carry around 2 big, huge satchels in my car of about 200 painted boards. And so,
Excuse me, that should be muted. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, which is great because I think
about sample eyes.
Yes.
Those are great if you're trying to test a color in your own house, but if you're using it as a professional, you need something that's more professional because those are just they're flexible. You can't use them like a professional product. Like the small walls are sturdy and you can carry them around. Does that make sense? But the sample eyes are great if you're just trying to test colors in your own home and you can't decide between like 5 colors. So you can order those, but they're really more for a one-time use.
And I think color, because I know you taught on color in 2017 in Fort Lauderdale, and that was part of our color designation, you and Joanne. And so that's such a huge facet for staging. You're right, because people pick the wrong colors all the time. I just had an investor that she was flipping a condo and she picked a gray, but then, gets on the walls. And so in the sunroom, I think it has kind of this lightish, not yellow, but kind of that cast of tile. So she said the paint looks purple. Yes. And I said, well, because you picked a gray that has an undertone of lavender with it. And so that's why I said, if you really want a neutral, this is the one you need to use. And so, they really do need to rely on other people to give recommendations, because you look at a paint, you're seeing like a little teeny paint strip. And if they're not even trying it on the wall, you have different lighting, it completely changes.
Right.
So
something else that I think is interesting is every year, like Sherwin-Williams, for example, and I love Sherwin-Williams, but they put out their 50 most popular colors. Benjamin Moore has their 100 popular colors. Popular colors, the ones they sell the most, are not necessarily the best colors. A lot of times they're the crappy color that everybody's been using for 25 years and looks dated. Excuse me. So I always tell people, just because it's on the list of the most popular does not mean it's the best color. So, and just because one color works for a lot of people on Pinterest doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work with the finishes in the house. Just like you said, if it has a different undertone than the carpet or the finishes, it really doesn't work, right?
Right. And then it's even like the color of the year. So every paint color, so you'd think if it was really the color of the year, they would all have something that would be similar, but they're so completely opposite. And I'm like, is that the jug of paint that you've been, had in the back that you want to unload? So you're trying to make us all buy like brick.
That's exactly right.
And I'm like, I will never use that color, and I think a lot of it is just, it's not meant for staging. I mean, they've had emerald, they've had, that clayish orange Santa Fe brick color, which I'm like, no. I mean, some people used it, but I'm like, that's not for staging. As far as putting it on a wall.
For any wall color, honestly. I don't really think most of those translate well to wall colors, to paint wall colors. They just don't. It's marketing. It's like everything else. It's something for them to talk about, to promote, and everybody's so interested in color of the year that it's brilliant. It's a brilliant marketing tool, but sometimes I think they just get together in a conference room and throw darts at the wall and hit a color, and that's their color of the year.
Because it isn't
consistent.
Yeah, because it isn't. They're all different. It doesn't seem like a trend. Like when they brought back baby blue and pink, and then they put it together as kind of that lavender. I'm like, oh my God, we're back in the 80s. Yeah. But then did you think like, if it's a trend, then why wouldn't it go like a deeper tone? And then next year was completely different color. I mean, we've gone from emerald green, we had purple, they had yellow. I mean, it's bizarre. So I'd like to be a fly on the wall in one of those rooms one time to see how they actually come up with those ideas.
Interesting.
So with blogging, are you going to talk about time saving ways to get the blog to be sent out to different social media platforms? Is that something you're going to cover?
Yeah, I probably will. I use CoSchedule. There's a couple of different ones that I use. I use MailChimp for blogging. I use MailChimp, and they send out all the emails to my subscribers and that kind of thing. But then I'll just use something like CoSchedule, or there's some different ones I'll talk about that you're able to put it out on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and all that kind of thing. So I'll talk about some of the apps you can use that can help you do that and streamline that process, because there's always more you could do.
Right.
I probably don't do enough of it. There's always something new to learn. It changes all the time, which is hard. But blogging itself is it doesn't change as often as the social media stuff like Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. Like, it's a little more steady Eddie. Does that make sense? You just do what you do. You put out a blog post, you send it to your subscribers, and then you can share it wherever you want.
Right.
So it doesn't change as much, if that makes sense. I mean, SEO does change, but.
Yeah. And I think with the blogging, the key is consistency. So because if people start getting followers, they want to see your information. So whether you do it once a week or once a month, whatever it is, it's this consistency that you have to have, because people will, they'll start expecting like, hey, where's her blog? I haven't seen one recently.
The main thing about consistency is what it does for your Google juice. It gives you so much more, you show up on Google searches. If you are, say you're Nashville home stager and you're using those keywords, we're going to talk about keywords. We're going to talk about how you optimize your SEO on the blog, or even how you can monetize it as well. But so in terms of like, if you are putting out blog posts that are consistent with what you are promoting, and you tag, use the right tags and those kinds of keywords in your local area, then every time somebody's looking for Nashville home stager, guess who's going to show up? It's right. Going to be an article on your blog that not only just shows you as someone doing it, but you're an expert at it because you're talking about it, you're showing it, you're, giving people reasons why they need to stage their home before they sell and all those things. Something else that's important, Jenny, is, there are a lot of lifestyle bloggers, people who blog for a living. I don't blog for a living. I blog to promote my business. And so I've made a lot of money through blogging, but not literally in blogging, if that makes sense. Like, I don't do tons of ads and things like that. But there are some people, that's all they're doing. It's about making money from the blog. That is their total number one business, right? But if you're promoting your business, you don't want to give away the store in your blog. So I try to focus on telling stories about what I've done or a project or that kind of thing, and engage people and tell them why they need to do something, but not necessarily how. Because if you tell them exactly how to do it, how to stage, how to whatever, then why are they going to call me? Why are they going to hire me? But a lot of lifestyle bloggers tell all they'll tell the list of the top 10 whatever grays and all that kind of stuff, but they don't really have any expertise. They're getting that stuff from lists online or from stuff they've done in their own home, and that's it. They've never made a living by actually specifying paint colors. So you have to kind of keep that in mind, that what's your purpose here? Are you going to give out all your information on how to stage a house? Well, no, I'm not there to teach everybody how to be a stager, but I'm there to promote my business and the whole concept of staging and why you need to do it. Does that make sense?
It does. And I totally agree 100%. You don't want to give the farm away. Yes. So you want to position yourself as the expert that people are going to hire, that you have knowledge and expertise, but it's the whole, you give them enough to kind of get them interested and reel them in, but without giving it all away for free, because there's no value. If you just give it all away and they're like a DIYer, I'll just do it myself. Yeah. They're the ones that are, having to have things fixed afterwards, and
that's right.
They pick the wrong colors and then they're calling us after. So, and I think you're probably one of the people that in my, circle, the sphere, that you've been so consistent with your blog and the Staged Homes blog. So we have, I don't know what has happened, but people I get all these people from Australia that'll submit articles. People will write in, and it's become like this. We don't charge people to post on our blog, and maybe I should monetize it, because the number of requests that we get.
Yes.
And so we do it as a courtesy to them. Right. And so my daughter Lauren posts it, but the number of emails that we have coming in, it's insane. And I get annoyed because they'll send it in one day and then they'll be like, did you get my blog? Did you read my article? Have you put it up yet? And I'm like, I have a whole thing. Like, it takes an average of 2 weeks for us to post because it's not a priority. We don't make money off this. So I'm like, we do this on our spare time. We're revenue generating over here.
Right.
But there's been a couple times I just wanted to go off on these people. Like, give me a break. I mean, you just turned your thing in 3 days ago. I don't work for you.
That's right.
I'm doing this as a courtesy for you to get exposure. So it's sort of funny where it's become this, it's kind of taken on a life of its own. And the blog itself, we want to have nice, articles that are coming out. So I appreciate the content being contributed, but not the people that hound us for, when are you going to post it? When are you going to post it?
Well, for years and years, I get requests every single day for guest posts. And, what I always say, Jenny, I mean, it may be different on the kind of blog that you're doing, but what I always tell people is I have a pat response, and I write on my own blogs. Because the reason why they're doing that, obviously people want to do guest posts is to get, and a lot of times they're hired to do it by a company.
Right.
So the company wants a link. And some of that's fine, but if it's not really, really relevant to my business, small walls, that's incredibly relevant to my business.
Right.
If it's anything about paint colors or tools that I would use, or I don't know, or vendors that I think are great, that's cool. I'll do that. We'll have some kind of partnership. But if it's somebody that's, trying to sell fruit juice or something, that's I'm not a lifestyle blogger. I'm not talking about health and wellness and, everything under the sun. So I try to, I don't know. I don't do guest posts. I rarely have. Sometimes I've been asked to do guest posts or kind of interview kind of posts on other blogs, but I guess what I'm saying is I don't accept guest posts at all on mine.
Yeah. And so some of them, they're like, they all relate to home, like home security, home maintenance, like, sustainable materials, different tips. But I've had a couple of people turn things in and I said, I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with our industry.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to post it. Then I always check the links to see where they're going. And I've had a couple of people put links to like real estate companies. And I'd say that's not allowed because we have, realtors and stagers. And so I'm not going to give your person a link, like a competitive advantage. I won't do it. So,
but it's worth.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, yeah. Well, lately it's been like these emails that come in. I get I get mad. So I got to kind of give myself a break on this thing. And basically maybe I'll have to do a thing like we're not accepting any more guest posts for the next few weeks because we're planning the conference. And if these people start hounding me, I'm like, look, I got this conference we're doing. It's not a priority.
Them, right? Crazy.
Oh my gosh, I know. And a couple of them, they're not from the US, so they're from overseas. And the way they write and spell too is different. So I have to correct and it's funny, there's a couple that try to do like things on home staging, but they're clearly not home stagers. And so some of the content, one of them just took old content, like really old content from our site. And I said, this is stuff that was from our site. Yeah. And I said, this is stuff that came from, for over 10 years ago. And I said, I'm not going to repost it. And it was really funny. Or they'll put like tips about for staging that's not really what we do. So I've had to rewrite some of it and then I'll put it out. But but I think, blogging, so are you going to talk about the number one or like some of the holdbacks or walls that people face when they're thinking about blogging and how to overcome those?
Well, I can. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said a little while ago, I didn't start blogging because I was passionate about writing. In fact, what's interesting is through the years, I've had so many, in fact, ended up getting a gig with the Tennessean newspaper for years, writing a column about design once or twice a month, which was great. And locally, that was great boom for my business. It was great. But, I'd have people asking me to submit articles to all these newspapers, like as if I were a journalist. Like, look, I'm really not a writer. I'm not a journalist. I'm passionate about the subject matter and I do what has to be done to get it out. And I would just say, if you're passionate about what you do, that's the motivation you need. And you just need some help and direction at how to actually put it together. So I'm going to talk about, obviously topics you can talk about, how to literally construct a blog post, all the different things you have to think about and put together. But I'm going to try to talk about it and maybe even have some Q&A if we have time to make sure I'm covering everything that people want to talk about. But I've been doing it for so long, I kind of take a lot of it for granted, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because I think, probably people think they have to be really great writers. So I think having the topics, some ideas that people can write about, and then people that are watching, you can take and reblog somebody else's blog. You can give them credit. So like if Kristie has a really cool blog, Melissa Morrow had one on, I forget what the topic was. I do want to reblog it. It might have been on using duplicates of things in a property. I thought it was pretty cool. So I said with permission, said, can I share this? Can I reblog this? And she said, absolutely. So you guys can also, if there's something that you see that you think, oh, that's really cool, you want to share it with your people, followers and so forth, you can put that out there. And it's also being able to get followers. So what is your platform for blogging? Do you use WordPress or?
I use WordPress. Yeah. It's the best one, and Google likes it more than any other. So it's really better to use than anything.
Because I was using blogger.com because it was a Google product, but it's not, and Blogspot and Blogger, I think, are owned by Google, but they're not as, they don't look as nice as far as the framework. It's not as pretty as WordPress, and it's not as easy to use. I don't know exactly the right wording for this, but WordPress is an open source. I don't know. It's something where like those other ones, Blogger and whatever, when those go away, your content's gone. WordPress is not going away. Does that make sense? Like I think it's a safer platform because it's so broadly used. I used to be on Blogger years ago, but as soon as I got to the point where I realized I need to be on WordPress, I think if you can do WordPress, that's the best way to go. I do want to say something, Jenny, about what you mentioned earlier about reblogging. You can take somebody's blog and promote it on social media, on your Facebook or your whatever, and provide a link and that kind of thing. Or you can talk about it in a blog post. You can modify some things, maybe talk about your top 2 favorites from that blog. But you do have to be real careful. You're not supposed to literally repost all the same material on your blog, because that messes up SEO big time. And it's duplicate content. So that's true.
Duplicate content on the web, Google finds you basically. They don't want people to see your stuff. And it also impacts the person that you got it from. So you have to be careful about that. It's great to provide links. Google loves it when you provide links to other reputable blogs or links back to other posts you've done before, so that when somebody's in your blog and you're talking about something and there's a word, maybe home staging training, for example, and you put a link back to where you provide the training or how to find out more about your training. That's really good for your personal Google juice. So anyway, just wanted to kind of point that out.
And that's interesting because I that's true because we have the iHouse blog, and so I actually had an article I put on both blogs, and the person said, take it off the iHouse one because that actually would hurt her.
Yes.
Then I said, okay, I didn't realize that. The other thing too that we learned the hard way is any images that people might include, if they need to be your own images, or make sure that they're copyright free, because we had somebody contribute to our blog, a couple, 2-3 years ago, and I don't know who did the sweep, but it was some picture, I guess a couple of pictures that were in the blog that were not used with permission. So this person came after us and was like, you need to pay us, the X amount. It was like $1,000 they wanted for the fine. And I'm like,
was it Getty? Getty images are really bad they'll come after you if you use their images.
I don't think it was Getty, but it was it was an individual. This person represented blah, blah, blah. And so I went to the person because it was like, I didn't post, I just did it as a courtesy to this person. So I go to the person who actually wrote the blog, and I called, phone called, emailed, they just completely ignored me. So I had to pay the fine. So now I have and I negotiated it down to like 50% of that, but still that's a lot of money for something I didn't even purposely do. So any of you guys watching, anytime you put an image, there's a lot of images out on the internet. And so they'll say if they're copywritten or say maybe copywritten material, you need to check to make sure that it's not.
Jenny, if it's anybody's photo but your own, you need to provide a link to wherever the photo was from. Whether it's all pretty much copyrighted. If it's out there, it belongs to somebody else. So like if you found it through like House Beautiful, I'll always provide a link underneath it, and it's to House Beautiful, where I found it on House Beautiful. But even better is if you can figure out who the designer was or who the person was who actually, or the photographer even, that's really what you're supposed to do. But as far as like finding an image from somebody's blog, like my blog, for example, I love it when people use my images. It's good. But as long as they just provide a link underneath that says the Decorologist and links back to the blog where they found it. And that's not a problem at all. And most bloggers are happy for you to do that. because it links back to their blog. It's when you
Right.
don't link to a blog or you don't mention who it's from, that's where you have a problem.
Right. And again, I like, because images, when people just have content, it's not as powerful as when you can have images. Images is really what grabs people. Then
Yeah.
they'll read the content, they might speed read or what have you. So you have to get to, I'm sure you're going to cover all like, how to frame a blog, get the point so that people can at a glance, they can see what it's about.
Right.
And I love that you do storytelling, because I think that's the biggest piece that I think people that just regurgitate information and it's really not, there's no emotion behind it. That doesn't
Yeah.
grab people and it's not memorable.
Right. It doesn't feel personal either. So
No, I was, getting my hair done yesterday, get rid of the grays. And so my hair guy, Chad, he's, great. He's talking about, he wants to live in a tiny house. And so I pulled up this blog because I remember this. I think this is from 2 years ago. I read this blog post, but it was a person who was talking about all the people in the tiny house movement.
Yeah.
And it was like, you with your teeny tiny house with your teeny tiny yard. And, I was in tears reading it the first time because it was so funny. Like, what happens if you have spicy food and you pass gas, you can't escape. You can only go 3 feet across the room and then your tiny house smells like Mexican food farts. I mean, it was just, I was laughing so hard. And so I was reading that to him, but I remember that because it was funny and it was memorable. And,
Right.
this is, so I think things like that, and I think that thing went viral. It was all over the place. So
of course, I'm sure it did. Yeah. If your personality can come out in your blog, all the better for sure.
Yeah.
And people, like you said, people remember you. It's not like a really static magazine article, like in House, like I'm thinking of like Better Homes and Gardens,
right.
10 steps to blah, blah, blah. That's nice and good. But if you need to speak more like a real person on a blog, because you are one, and you can talk
Right.
about your experience instead of just, here are the top trends.
Right. So you live in Nashville. So
I do.
people that are watching, it's a great city. So
It's
tell
so good.
people why should they come to Nashville? What's the big thing about Nashville?
Well,
Why do they need to come to conference?
Well, first of all, Nashville is like the it city, right? It's awesome, and October is absolutely the best time of year. Beautiful weather. It's going to be fabulous. There's so much to do. There's so much to see. Gaylord, where we're having the conference, is beautiful. It's amazing. You'll be blown. You've seen it, right? It's like you'll be blown away by the interior. They have like they have like a water park through it. They've got just a conservatory that is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. So it's going to be fabulous, especially if you stay in that hotel. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and they have. So when I went, it was last November, so it was all decked out for Christmas.
Sure.
But so those people have never been. So I don't know how tall it is. My husband probably could tell us how big the building is, but it's like a giant. I'm going to say like a solarium or whatever it is, but it's all the plants that are inside are real.
Yeah.
And they do such a beautiful job maintaining all the trees and the flowers on there. So as you're walking, everything's just lined with real plants.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to other Gaylord hotels. They're not like that.
No.
So they don't have the same living elements inside. And the water park opened this year. I think it'll be closed by the time we get there, if I'm not mistaken. It might close Labor Day. It's very cool. But the hotel itself is fabulous. In the downtown, we're only about 15 minutes or so from downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And we of course, being the tourists, went to Broadway Street and all the honky tonks.
Yes.
We gotta go.
I'm sure you had quite the time.
Well, so when we went, I don't think we got downtown until it was like 9:30 p.m. or whatever. And we wanted to go to the Wild Horse Saloon, and it was closing because it was a Wednesday night. So I think, or whatever night it was. Yeah. So it wasn't hopping at all. So we didn't get to see any action. And then we went to this place that's like 7 floors or 6 floors, and every floor has a different type of food. It's called not the cafeteria. It's called the something. And then we ended up at Kid Rock's new place that he had just opened up, and saw a band. And so it's just fun. So there's just music blaring. You just walk around everywhere. And it's just a really great scene. Mm-hmm. They call it Nash Vegas though, so I'm sure you guys are not real happy about it.
Well, I tell you, it's now the world's capital for bachorette parties.
Yeah,
which means women come in droves to have their bachelorette party there, and so you've got drunken bachelorettes all over downtown, falling off of those pedal taverns, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I don't get downtown very much anymore. I'm getting a little too old for that. But it's fun, and it's great as a tourist to see all of it. If you're not,
and it's fun. It's fun to people.
So
yeah, it's fun to people watch, and then we'll have most of our activities will be, of course, at the hotel. But again, it's not that far for people to get downtown if they want to go and experience down there. When we're there, they said, I think it's the 94th anniversary of Opryland.
Yes.
And of course, when we booked the event, we didn't know that. And so that's why the hotel. So it's really, really important. If you guys have not gotten your hotel rooms yet, you have to book, because September 3rd, our special rate ends and the rates are going to jack up. And so the hotel is selling out because of the 94th birthday. So when we went in November, because it was Christmas decked out, they had the buses of all the white hair, the older seniors that were coming, and they all move like really slow. Although there was a group, they had a parade or something. And so these gals they had walkers, but they had tutus on, pink and red and purple. And they were funny. And so they all got in the elevator with us and said, what do you guys do? Well, we're practicing for our parade. So there'll be a different elements of people coming in. And
oh, sure.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to see. That's for sure.
And I wonder which music acts are going to be there. When we were there, Trace Adkins had a show.
Okay.
So all I saw was his big cutout, and I took pictures with it. And we actually went into his green room. Was supposed to be one of our breakout sessions. So it was his microphone and his notes and some M&Ms he'd been eating. And so we were, this is Trace Atkins set.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So who knows who we're going to see? It'll be fun.
In fact, I mean, everybody thinks country music when they think of Nashville, but there's tons of other kinds of music. A lot of very famous rock and roll music people live here. Jack White of White Stripes. I'm more of a rock and roll kind of girl, but I mean, he lives like literally 4 minutes from my house. And so, you see people like that all the time. Nicole Kidman, I've seen her out. I've seen Sheryl Crow. I've seen, you never know who you're going to run into. So it's pretty cool.
That's very cool. Well, I'm really looking forward to having you with us again. So we always appreciate you joining us for our conference, because you always have such interesting things to share, and from your definite expertise. And so she's going to have a table as well, right?
Yeah.
And
can I
share
one thing with everybody? I wanted to share this because it's going to happen in about a week. I talk a lot about paint colors, and people have been asking me for years about doing a paint color course. And so for the last 6 to 9 months, I've been working on an online paint color course, and it's done. It's ready. It's actually been in pre-launch for a few weeks. But I'm about to, send it out live, probably the 1st of September, but it's called Psychological Color Expert. And it's a very intensive training. It's about 11 and a half hours of video instruction from me, lots of really cool tools. So anyway, I'm so excited about it. And I'll probably be talking about, have it at my table or whatever, so people can find out more about that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think color, that's one of the things. I mean, I know enough to be dangerous. And I know I certainly have learned a lot from you and also from Joanne. But there's always more that people can absorb and learn, so that you really feel confident when you're going into a color consultation, or be able to develop that facet of your business.
And it's different, it's different for, like you said before, it's different for staging than it maybe is for design. So in my Expert Psychological Stager course, I teach everything that you need to know about paint color for staging, but just for staging, right? Because it's different. It's more limited, right? So this course is much broader and is for anybody in the design industry. So it's not just specific to staging, because, when you're dealing with interior design and people's personalities, it's a whole, it has to be much broader, and you have to deal with those people and what they want, which is different than staging, of course.
And it's interesting. So, and I forget who, I think maybe Ellen Harris Mann put out on Facebook pictures of painting out oak banisters and things like that, transformation and turning things into white. And so I was actually doing an article to contribute to a blog. And, and so we have clients that they're like so resistant on painting out the wood. And I don't know if like 20 years from now, people are gonna be like, oh my God, we're so horrified they painted over all the beautiful wood, but it just dates the house. And so being able to paint it white, what do you think about black?
Orangey oak.
Oh yes, the orangey oak, which is everywhere here. Yeah. People have like the black trim I've seen that it doesn't have to just be white, but you can also do some drama with the black too. So I've seen that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, our time is up. So my Elevon guest, so this is on purpose, he was not able to come on because of rules with U.S. banks. So Elevon is actually a merchant provider, merchant processing system. And so they're one of our partners. So for those of you that are looking for credit card processing and so forth, we'll be sending out some information on Elevon, but he was not able to be on because I guess they have rules about media. He couldn't be on, which is too bad. Yeah. So, but they'll be at the conference, which is great. So, but thank you, Kristie. Looking forward to seeing you in Nashville, your hometown.
Yeah, I
And
can't wait. It's going to be great.
I know we're looking forward to it. So thank you for being on.
Bye.
Bye. All right, so that is our show, everybody. Next week we'll have another great lineup for you. And again, get your nominations in for your awards. The caveat is you can't self-nominate, so somebody else has to nominate you and submit you on their behalf or on your behalf. But you can help them pull pictures and stuff together, because don't give yourself like an hour to get this done, because I've been through it. And just if you're going to submit for the occupied or the vacant home staging categories, you got to put pictures in. And what I learned is that I need to categorize my pictures as I'm staging versus remembering like which one was a hands-on, which one was vacant. And I'm going through my brain trying to figure out what client was what. So, that's going to propel me to categorize in the future, because it would be much easier just to pull up folders of these are all my vacant Lux or whatever. So, but get the submissions in. And then again, don't forget to get your ticket for conference and the hotel reservation, because we are almost at our minimum for the room block, which I'm thrilled about. And we still have plenty of rooms available, but the prices are going to go up as of September 3rd. So do not wait. And if something happens and you can't attend, you can always cancel the reservation, but you won't be able to retroactively go back and say, oh, I decided to come. Can you give me that great price? So please, please, please get your hotel room reservations. So ihospconexpo.com is the site for our conference. And that's where the hotel information is, the link that we have for our special rates, and all the schedule and all the great information, everything you're going to learn when you come, and all the fabulous people you're going to meet. So one of the things we're doing that is new is those people that are newer, we're going to do a kind of a big sister, little sister, big brother, little brother type thing, mentoring. So somebody who's coming that's never attended before, you won't feel like you're just lost in a sea of humanity. So we're going to get you connected with somebody who's, more seasoned, and so that you have a buddy to kind of, hang out with at the conference, at least, so you don't feel like you have to eat alone or I don't know anybody. And so that's something that is important to all of us on the leadership team for IHOSP for the conference. And we want to make sure people do make a connection, because that's what will sustain you in your business, is your colleagues who will keep you motivated and uplifted and encourage you. And when you have challenges, they're going to make you feel like you're not the only one experiencing that, whether it's business or just life challenges. And so the connection part of coming to a conference, I feel like that's just as important as the information that's shared. It's not like you're propelling into these rooms, you're learning, and then that's it. I mean, you want to meet people. And 17 years at doing this, some of my best friends are people I've met in the industry at the conference. And we've been friends now for 15, 16 years, which is amazing. And we might only see each other once or twice a year, but that friendship is sustained because of our common bond. And then also because we can see each other on social media, which is really fun. So anyway, thanks everybody. And join us next week, again, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for another great segment. Those of you watching now or in the future, please share this with other people. Share it to your personal page so we can reach as many people as possible. And join in the conversation. You can comment. You can reach out to me. If you want to be a guest on the show, please let me know. We'd love to have you. So you can email me at Jenny, JENNIE, at IAHSP.com. And all of our past segments are loaded up on our YouTube channel for iHosp, and also on homestagingtalk.com. All the segments are found there going back. This is segment number 63, if you can believe it. So we have a ton of past segments you can learn from all these different expert speakers and just content. So they're there for you. homestagingtalk.com or the iHosp YouTube channel, and also on the Facebook pages for Homestaging Talk. They're all archived as well. So thanks everybody. We'll see you next week. You guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk next Wednesday. Bye everybody.